Hey everyone, this is me, Undead Viking. I'm here to talk to you about this game called Deal. This is a game about running a giant criminal organization. Now, you are going to be one of 6 possible gangsters that is in charge of a drug production, drug smuggling, and drug dealing organization. Along the way, you'll be dealing with crazy world events that will affect things that are going on, and also trying to climb to the top of the ladder, if you will, and along the way, theoretically burying some of your opponents. The game is for 3 to 6 people, and it is a game of area control, a lot of combat, and a lot of negotiation. Things that I really like. I enjoy area control games, and I thoroughly enjoy games that allow me to have that open source part of it, if you will, to be able to talk to other people, convince people to gang up on one person, convince people to work together, sow seeds of mistrust, if you will, amongst other people, and I like that because I think inherently I'm good at it. I've been told that I can lie very well. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but as far as the game is considered, I really enjoy it. So the game isn't at all difficult. If you've played area control games, it's going to have a lot of different things. The combat is card driven. There's no dice involved, which is also kind of a nice aspect as well, but I'll show you that. So why don't I just show you how to play Deal, and then we'll come back here and I'll talk more about the things that I really enjoyed about this game. Alright, awesome. Alright, this is the game board for Deal, and I have set up a 6-player game. This is one of those games with lots of conflict, and with these games I've always found with more people, the more fun I have. It is for 3 to 6 people, as I said, but I have had fun with 3, and I've had fun with 4 and 5, but I've played the game twice with 6 people, and that was probably the most fun, just basically because you're dealing with everybody, Deal. You're dealing with everybody's actions, you're dealing with all the interaction, you're dealing with rivalries and allies and so on and so forth. But just so you can kind of see what all of this is obviously a little bit of South America, Central America, and North America. You will see there are territories that are in gray, which are neutral. They don't really do anything. However, some of them do have these little marks with 1 or 1 like there. Those are worth points in the respect meter over here. If you you play to a certain amount of respect to win the game, 10, 12, or 15, depending on the length of the game that you want to play. But they don't do anything other than some of them are strategic. Like this large area here that has Minneapolis located in it. I would like to point out that there actually is Bismarck, North Dakota, which I think is pretty cool. They actually have listed the fact that the North Dakota city on the map, which I found pretty cool. But I grew up in North Dakota. If you haven't watched these videos before, but so. They don't do anything other than like this one. It connects a lot of areas. Here we have Cuba, or La Habana. You'll notice that this is a main route for several different places on the sea. So when these arrows, those are like connection arrows. So like from Seattle down to Panama, that's connected. Panama and Guayaquil are connected. And this is obviously worth a point there. So it's just, that's all they're for, though. If you have a blue and you have a control over that, you can sell drugs in that area. And 1 in these white cubes represent the drugs. If you are in a blue area, you can sell 1 for 4 million. If you have 2, you can sell the second one for 2 million. Everything after that is worth 1 million each. And money in this game, represented in this case, by this money here, they come in like 0.5 million, 1 million, and 5 million currency. Money is then used to purchase new troops for your gang, for your criminal enterprise, if you will. And it can also be used for negotiations between players. I'll get to that in just a little bit. But I have set up, like I said, these are the starting areas for the different criminal organizations. then some of them, 3 of them, are up here in North America, and these are where you can sell things. And some of them are down here in South America and Central America, and this is where you actually will produce the white cubes, the drugs that you're producing. If you have control of a red area, when it is time to collect resources, it isn't that you can sell drugs, but you can either create 1 cube, like so, or you can recruit 1 thug, which is the smallest of these little discs. And then you can actually choose one. So if you have several different areas, you can pick, I'm going to grow drugs, and this one I'm going to get a soldier, and this one, and so on and so forth. You might have noticed there are a couple of areas, here, 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 and here, that have the big white border on them. These are the capitals of either selling drugs or creating drugs. And like New York and Las Vegas are the 2 big selling drugs, and La Paz and Medellin are the 2 big ones to create drugs. If you're creating drugs and you have control of these areas, you can create up to 3 drugs or recruit up to 3 soldiers, and you can mix and match. You can say 2 drugs and 1 soldier, or whatever you want to do. In these areas, you can sell as many drugs as you have. If you have 11 drugs, you can sell them all for 11, and the cool thing about it, each one is going to be worth the maximum value. So you don't have like a diminishing return, if you will. So control of those areas are really important. Plus, you can see this one's worth 2 points, this is worth 3 points, 2 and 2. And this isn't a game where, you have a certain number of turns. It's like, once a person gets 10 or 12 or 15, whatever you decided is going to be the amount, then that is the game. As soon as somebody reaches that, they're done. Alright, so, at the beginning of the game, you will each be given 1 of these sheets that represents the different gangs. So, and this is the boss of the gang. So, Crantific, Armada Socialista del Pueblo, Yanagi, Marias del Diablo, Enveleno, Segadores, and there's Crantific. Now, each one of these, as you probably guess, have a special power. So, like, the original gangster, Crantific, his his boss, has a value, a troop value, like a fighting value of 10 instead of 6. Normally, the bosses are 6, these lieutenants are 3, and these soldiers are 1. And also, there are, in this big giant deck of weapons here, there are weapons that are specific to each gang. And if you have them, you actually then get to use the special. So like with the Hummer Limo, which is like one of the weapons that's in the game, you actually increase the damage or the power of that particular weapon by 5 with him. So basically, these break the rules. During his resource phase, you place an extra dope piece on the territory occupied by boss if it's producer territory. When attacking a territory adjacent to the one occupied by your boss, increase the damage of your weapon cards you play by 1. During your resource phase, place 1 extra soldier on a territory occupied by your boss. During your resource phase, double the narco dollars yielded by your territory occupied by your boss, but not the narco dollars earned from selling dope pieces. And because you earn money just by controlling an area. I should have mentioned that, but I'll do that when I go through the turn. And during your deal phase, instead of discarding your whole combat hand, you may discard any number of weapon cards and draw new ones from the pile. And the reason that's important is normally with this deck, you have these weapons that you'll use during combat, like from like miniguns to bricks, if you will, and the little men down here tell you what your total like combat value of the troops in the area determines what weapons you can use. So in this case, you have to have a total troop value of 2, which could be just the boss, because the boss is worth 6 or 10 in some cases, or like 2 soldiers, which is worth 2, or a lieutenant, which is worth 3. So you could actually use that. Whereas, the minigun, you'd have to have either 3 soldiers or a lieutenant, and so on and so forth. But normally, you have a deck of 5 of these cards. And as you do your turn, you have the option, well, if you use them up during a combat, you get to redraw. But at the end of your turn, you have the option of discarding your hand and redrawing back up. But in this, with that special boss's power is that he can pick and choose. He doesn't have to get rid of everything in his hand. He can decide to hold on to some of the stuff that's good and get rid of some of the stuff that's bad. So anyway, when you have your turn, I should mention that after you get your special boss or whatever, you will be given randomly one of these cards. You'll remove the ones that aren't in the game. This is your target. This is the boss that you are trying to assassinate. Now, so like if I was, if I was Crantific and I got him, I'd have to kill Segadoros. And if I killed him, he'd be worth 5 respect. And if you kill somebody's boss, they're out of the game. So it actually has this game does contain player elimination. Now, this 3 over here means that if I'm Crantific and I get Crantific itself, that means I can kill any of the other bosses, but they're only worth 3. But I can kill multiple ones. If I can manage to kill more than just one, you get extra. Now, obviously, these cards remain secret until you've actually killed that boss. Then you turn it over and you show. Now, if you have the boss and somebody else kills him, you don't get the points. You don't like, oh, I wanted him dead, so I get the points for that. So don't worry about like if you kill a boss, that somebody else is going to be like, oh, thank you, you just let me win the game. It doesn't work like that. So, also, you'll be given one of these cards. This is like your secret agenda, your secret plan. This is another way you can use to earn points. And so they have, like, Godfather, Big Boy, Magnate, Villain, Brute, so on and so forth. So, and if you do certain aspects, if you accomplish certain things, you'll get the points for them. So, like, for the Villain, if you take a capital that's been controlled by another clan, so, like, somebody's taken over one of these capitals, you move in, you take it from them, you'd earn 3 points. Attack a boss with lieutenants only, you earn 2 points. Reveal a combat with at least 3 special weapons. So, it's right down the board. I'm not going to read all these off to you. But the trick is that this is secret. You have this face down. The moment that you reveal it is the moment that you earn the points for the thing that you just succeeded. Now, you can, of course, achieve the other things and earn the points, but let's say, like on turn 3, I attacked a boss with with lieutenants only. That'd be worth 2 points. But I don't reveal the card. And then like a couple turns later, I take a capital controlled by another clan. So I flip this over and I say, bam, I earned 3 points for that. But I can't go back and say, hey, 2 turns ago, I did attack that boss with only lieutenants, so I earned 2 points. No, you don't get that. If you do it again, you get the 2 points. But you can't turn it over after the fact to earn the points. So it's one, and the thing is, once it's revealed, then everybody can also look at the card. They can say, oh, okay, we got to make sure that he doesn't achieve these other things that will allow him to move up the respect meter to win the game. So yeah, that's one of those cool little added aspects. And one of the nice things is that what I think you should do before you hand these out to everybody is that everybody read them. And so like they can kind of get an idea of like what somebody's doing, like if they're like undergoing certain actions or whatever, just certain things like that. So like the Godfather, it's like, oh, why is he gathering up all those soldiers in that one territory during that little point? Or maybe Big Boy, it's like, why is he like taking over all these gray areas? They're not worth anything. Well, because if he controls all 8 gray territories, it's worth 2 points. And if he controls 15 territories total, it's worth 3. So you might clue into the idea that that's what they're trying to go for. So, after all that is said and done, you determine the first player by any means, whatever means you want to. The game suggests that each person just draw a card from here, and whoever gets the highest total on their weapon would then get it. But regardless, just figure it out however you want to, and then you will begin the game. Each player turn will consist of 4 different phases. The first phase is the resource phase, and each player will complete their whole entire turn with the 4 phases before the next person will take their turn, and they'll start over with the first phase. The resource phase, you control 1 million. You get $1 million for each one of the blue territories you control. If you control one of the capitals, you get $3 million for that one. And then you get, at that point, you get the, also, if you control a red one, you get 1 dope or 1 soldier. And then you can mix and match, as I said, that you can also, if you wish, at that point, mix and match. Remember, these are worth 3, the capitals you can pick and choose. This is also the phase in which you will then also sell your drugs if you happen to control one of these blue consumer areas. And that's when you go 4 million, then 2 million, and then 1 million. And then remember, of course, you get the maximum amount if you control a capital for each one. So then, after you've done that, and you've got all your different things, all your money, all your troops or drugs, then you get a recruitment phase. And then for $1 million, you can place a soldier on the board, and you place them, and for $6 million, you can get a lieutenant. Now, you are limited to the number of troops that you have in your pile. This is like there's space for 50 soldiers, and you have 3 lieutenants that you can use. The reason why there's so few lieutenants is because, 1, they're more powerful, and 2, they're fast. They can move 2 spaces as opposed to the boss and the soldiers, which can move 1. You can place anywhere you control on the board. So like say, you had a guy here and you control that. You can place your soldier in that location. You can also place them with your boss, wherever your boss may be. So, if your boss is out moving around and you need extra protection, you can purchase soldiers and lieutenants and place them with them. You can, but you can't obviously place them somewhere where you don't have control. And as long as you have the money, you can just keep buying as many troops as you want. A lot of times you'll think, well, why shouldn't I just buy all the troops? Well, money's always good for negotiating with other players, so you might want to hold on to a little bit at that point. After you've done that, you can do your action phase. You can move all of your troops and the drugs that you control around the board. As I said, bosses move 1, soldiers move 1, and lieutenants move 2. And you can move adjacent territories. Remember, this is adjacent. These arrows make those places adjacent. The only thing that can move drugs are your soldiers. So if you have one on there and you wanted to move, say, get them to here and then maybe get over into Miami, like if they're here, okay, then I'm in Miami. Now at this point, when you do that, you control the area if there's nobody else there to take it over. And in that situation, you would actually increase your respect by 1 because you'd be in control of the Miami area. And then next turn, obviously, you have drugs in that location, and then you're able to then liquidate that in the next turn to make some money. Now, one interesting thing about when you score a respect point is that as soon as you score a respect point, regardless of how you do it, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, you are going to draw a card, or an event card. And you turn the event card, and event cards come with a couple different things. Well, actually more than a couple different things. Some of them are permanent, that affect the game for a period of time. Some of them are just instantaneous, and others actually will correspond to the different gangs. I didn't shuffle these in because I wanted to be able to show them. And these actually get shuffled into this deck, and you'll actually know when the next event card is going to be turned over at a certain gang. When these come over, you hand these immediately to the gang that's playing, and then they get to hold on to them and use them in a later time. So in this case, if you scored that one, you immediately turn this over, and here you go. This is actually a permanent one because of the fact that it has this hourglass up on the top, and it says, notice how there's this hourglass figure here, and it says, Patriot Act, all bosses are immobilized and lose their special ability. Well, that stinks. You don't, if your boss has a nice special ability, but that would be in place. And it would be in place until another point was scored, and you say you got embargo, and then you'd cover that up like so. The other thing is that when you score a respect point, say you get that point for taking over Miami, and that's 1 point, you move up there. If for whatever reason, you could turn over your special goals card and say, well, if I control Miami, I actually satisfy this other one, and I get another respect point going up too, then you would draw another one. And here you have one, global warming, draw 2 event cards from the pile. So you have this, this would be an instantaneous type of thing. So, just so you can see, some of these, special abilities, this is a blue one, so you'd hand this to Krantic, and it says here, it's choose, this tells you what phase you can do this in, and then choose and remove an enemy's lieutenant from the board, recruit a lieutenant for free. And so it's a trader, and it's just something that player then gains, and each one of them has, this actually makes the deck, if you can hear, I'll show you, the gang specific ones. There's a lot more gang specific ones if you're playing with all 6, obviously, than there are normal event cards, but it adds a little extra thought process to the game, especially if you know the next one's going to be helping on another gang. You might be thinking, well, I don't want to draw that one, because of that reason. But it's kind of a neat little thing that you can gain extra abilities if you turn over the right cards, if you will. And so also during the action phase, that is when you are able to move into the same spot as other soldiers. So say this lieutenant and this soldier moved into that spot. And notice the lieutenant can't move through a spot that is controlled by another group. They have to stop, even though they can move too. And that would initiate combat in that situation. this is considered an attack immediately. And you can do multiple attacks, but like if, say, for example, orange controlled that area, and I also had some soldiers over in this location here, I don't have to move all of them in at the same time. I can move some of them in, go through the attack, and then if I don't win it, I can move the other ones in there and attack as well. So, but that is how that works. Now, if we have, immediately when you do that, that's when you go into combat. Combat isn't a phase. Combat just occurs. Each person will start with a hand of these 5 cards, and combat's pretty easy. Each person has 5. I'll just draw 5 for each one. And so, in this case, what you do, and you don't have to do this, but it's kind of handy, is you take your units that are involved in the combat, and you place them over onto this spot. So we have 2 soldiers here that have a power of 1 each, and we have 1 soldier of 1, and we have 1 of these 3. And so now you can, have your combat. So the first player, remember, you have to go by the troop total. So here we have a total of 4 against orange's 2, and so the red player can, well, I can't play my helicopter because I need 5 for that. Crossbow is 1. That's not so bad. Here's a 3 for a 5. So I can actually, we're going to play that one. You put it face down. The other person will then, look at their cards and see what they have. They have a one. They're not, unfortunately, they're not green, so they can't use that one. So they're looking through, and they only have, 1 card, that they can use. So they put this one down. They flip them over, and it's 5 versus 1. You're doing 4 points of damage. In this case, 1 point of damage, 1 point of damage. The combat's over pretty quickly. Now, if this was reversed, what would happen is it's 4 points of damage, and you would actually then remove, the soldiers die first, and then you deduct the damage like this, 1, 2, 3, like that. If I'd only done, say, 3 points of damage, it'd be 1, and then 2, 3, Lieutenant would still have 1 hit point left, and then we go through another round of combat. Now, and this will happen, I'm doing a very, very simple combat in this situation. If you have a situation where the combat is really long and there's tons of people involved, I've had combats with 20 troops on each side. If you have that situation, you can run out of your 5 cards. You go through 5 rounds of combat. In that situation, what happens is that you each redraw up to 5 cards at that point. And then the person that attacked has the option to retreat and leave and decide, okay, I'm not going to attack anymore. This is too costly. I'm not going to go through with this. If they decide to keep going, then the defender has to keep going as well. The defender doesn't have the option. And you can't, ever stop and just have 2 people from 2 different groups in the same spot. You have to keep going until one of you is dead, or after that 5 rounds, you're gone. Regardless, after the combat is done, both players will refill their hand back up to 5 cards. So they do get to actually have, it isn't one of those things where you can bleed them dry a few cards, and then attack again, and when they have less cards, so you can hurt them for the next player or hurt them for your next attack, if you will. You also can, if you have 2 cards left in your hand that were crummy, and you have you can discard those at that point too and draw 5 brand new ones. You don't just have to refill your hand up to 5. So you have that option. So after all of your moves are done, or your action phases are done, then you will go through the last phase, which is actually the dealing phase. And this is where you actually have the negotiation between the players. If you are next to other players, you can talk to somebody. You can offer to sell them your drugs, and you can say, here, I'll sell you these drugs for $2 million, or I'll give you $1 million. I'll give you $1.5 million. You kind of go back and forth. Now you might be wondering, why would you do this? Well, a lot of times, we've moved this soldier into, La Habana that has those drugs, and let's say these, the tough pink, Yakuza gang is sitting here, and we can't defeat them. There's no way we can take those guys out. But this is worthless to me right here. But if I can tell him, I said, I'll give you this. You give me $2 million for it. You're going to get it's gonna move in there, and you're gonna be able to sell for 4. And and we both make $2 million basically out of that. And so you can actually start working together with other players, even though only one of you can win, but for mutual, assurance, if you will, that you're both going to be profiting from a situation. You also can trade weapon cards with each other. If you can tell somebody, I've got a couple really good weapon cards, I'll trade you these, and then maybe if you give me the money for them. And then and give me like 3 million. These are really good weapon cards. So I got a weapon card that's in your color. Trade me that. Of course, that's totally like you can show it to them so they know it's true. You can not show it to them. You're just gonna have to trust me. This is that open deal, open negotiation part of the game that I really like. You can, if you want, have a situation where, tell you what, I'll give you this drugs here, and it's like, well, I don't have any money for you. Well, pay me 4 million next turn. Okay. If you do have a situation where next turn you're going to pay me off, that is not a situation that they are bound to that decision. You're basically trusting them not to screw you over. And but if you think you can trust them, then that will work as well. So, and after all that is done, then one of the last things you can do is, if you don't like your hand of weapon cards, you can discard all your weapon cards and draw new ones, unless there's a special ability that changes that, of course. So then you are then done with your turn. At that point, then you can go ahead and the next person will take their entire turn and do the same thing. So that should give you a pretty good idea of how this game is played and the different processes that you have to go through. It's not a difficult game to learn. It's just a really difficult game to know who to trust and who's got your back and who you're trying to take out. And one of the best games I ever played was I convinced a guy that we worked together the entire game, even though he was the person I was supposed to assassinate the entire game. And until I actually had the moment where he actually trusted me implicitly and I was able to actually move all my troops in and take him out as the boss, knock him out, and then actually win the game because I got to 10. And those are the types of things that I really like about this game, and what makes the game a lot of fun is the fact that you are it's the game within the game. The open banter, the open conversations, and the negotiations that you're having with the other players. But I'll get more into that with my conclusion, which I will do right now. All right, thanks a lot for being patient and sitting through that long explanation of how the game is played. I hope you have a really good idea of how to play the game. Like I said, it isn't all that difficult. It does have a few little nooks and crannies. I mean, the whole process of turning the event cards over every single time a point is scored, not the total points, so not if you score 2 points, you don't draw 2 cards, but every separate scoring time is a different card. Did hook us up a little bit the first time we played it, but after that, the rest of the game was pretty straightforward, and we did really well with it. Now, this is a game that's right up my alley. Now, I realize the theme might be a little bit questionable to some people, but there's lots of games out there that have questionable themes, so I'm not really going to touch on that. I mean, there's a lot of movies out there that glamorize the whole, mafia, the whole organized crime, and the drug smuggling trade as well, and, I can separate the fantasy, which is this game, and the reality, the abhorrent reality that is that situation. And I can kind of allow myself to slide into the theme and actually enjoy it and play a Pablo Escobar-esque character, if you will. So I'm not gonna, like I said, not gonna touch on that because of the fact that you're either gonna, when you decide if you want to play this game, you're gonna know whether you're gonna like it and whether or not you're gonna take it seriously or not. So enough said about that. But the bottom line is this game is a lot of fun. There is something inherently enjoyable about the whole process of this game, I mean, just the manufacturing and choosing, the two different sides of the world, if you will. I mean, you can try to focus on one. You can just try to be the person that's selling the drugs. You can try to focus on being the one that manufactures it, or you can try to do both sides of the operation and kind of be your own, your own source, if you will. But I think the game really shines in the fact that it really doesn't matter too much as far as what side you're on. The big thing is you want to control those objectives that you get on your card. I mean, this is the big way that you score your points. Taking over the spots on the board is easy. It's like, okay, I got this spot, it's worth a point. All right, if players want to knock you down, they take it over from you and you lose that point. So that isn't what is going to, help you win, because it's very evident, it's very obvious what you're doing. You're climbing the ladder, getting those points, and as soon as you get too far, or you get too close, the rest of the gangs are going to jump on you and start taking those territories away from you, because if you're waiting just till you satisfy a couple of these different objectives, you could turn the card over and then win the game at that point. This is the main way you win the game. This is when you can maybe put together, maybe 2, possibly even 3, and have 3 of these objectives completed, and you're able to flip the card and say, there, I got 6 points, and I'm within 1 point of winning the game, or maybe even winning the game outright at that point. And that is, the big portion of the game as far as how it is. Now, you could never control a red spot on the board and rely on other people, to sell you your drugs. You could just be manufacturing and just, having lucrative deals with other people, or just, maybe one-time gambits of moving in, taking over an area, and then holding on to it long enough to liquidate your drugs in that situation. And that's where the game kind of opens up. It's one of those things where you're constantly, trying to not show your hand, so to speak. You don't want people to realize, what you're up to. And along the way, you're also trying to negotiate with everybody else and trying to make sure that, you're that guy with the smile in the corner that everybody trusts, if you will. And that's, as I mentioned when I was talking about the gameplay, the game beyond the game. I love games filled with negotiation. I love the situations where I'm able to, for lack of a better term, exert my influence, exert my will on somebody else, and be able to convince them to, perhaps do their bidding, do my bidding, if you will, but convincing them that it's in their best interest as well. And, it's that part of the game that it's no longer the mechanism of the game. It's no longer the board. It's no longer anything. It's my mind against your mind, and it's the part that I really, really enjoy. There can be a little bit of a hook, a stumbling block a few times. Like when I've played games like this with people, they said, "Well, I'm not going to trust anything you say because I know you're just going to screw me over." But there's a lot of times when we're able to enjoy it, basically because of the fact of the immersion, the idea that we are these underworld kings, if you will, and it is a bit of escapism, and it is a lot of fun, in fact, in my opinion. So, for all those reasons, and just basically the fact that it's highly competitive, and the combats are bloody, but relatively quick. It reminded me a lot of actually a play-by-mail game that I used to play a long time ago called It's a Crime, actually, where you had a little gang of toughs, if you will, and then you kind of rose up from the streets. That's one of those things that I really enjoy. There is one aspect that I forgot to mention, and I do apologize for this. When I was showing how the game was played, the capitals actually have a defense. When they're not controlled by somebody, they have a defense of 10. There's a local gang that's sitting there, and you do have to fight them to take that over. I apologize for not bringing that up during the normal gameplay, but once you defeat them, you're in control of it. But if for whatever reason you abandon it, you move away from it without somebody else coming over and taking it from you, then the local gangs immediately take it over again. So just keep that in mind, and I do apologize for getting that. But for all those reasons I mentioned, and just the fact that it is a very communal game, it is a very boisterous game, it is a very event-driven game. This is one of those games where you'll have memorable turns, you'll have memorable backstabs, you'll have memorable moments of screams of vengeance and cheers of victory. I just thoroughly enjoyed it a great deal, and it's a game that I knew as soon as I heard about it, it was going to be right up my alley, and I knew I was going to enjoy it a great deal. So, there you go. That is the American Deal, or American Dream. Deal the American Dream, I should say. If you have any questions about the gameplay or the theme or anything else like that, by all means, ask away. I'll try to answer those to the best of my ability. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And, as always, until next time, you have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.